Awarded filmmaker Mick has produced a new film to promote a new book highlighting eviction and corruption in Ireland, and he joins me now. Welcome back to the programme, Mick.
Thanks very much, Billy.
Now, when we came across this, first of all, I was thinking to myself, is this a book about eviction in 19th century Ireland, and is the piece about it? It isn't, in fact.
No, it's a book about what's actually going on in Ireland at the moment. And there's several first-hand accounts in the book of evictions that the author, Tom Darcy, would have actually witnessed. And the film I made is actually recreating one of those stories.
Happened here in Waterford?
Well, it didn't happen in Waterford, actually. It happened up in Roscommon, I think.
Okay.
But it's a true story. And it's horrific. And what we did was we recreated that story. We recruited some local actors, and we received a lot of help from, say, Waterford City Council, who helped us with a funeral scene. They supplied Ballinashe Cemetery to us. Pádraig McGarrigle and Ray Hayes from Waterford City Council, I have to acknowledge their help. And we recruited some actors locally. Jamie Nagle's Stage School supplied us with some young actors. And we recreated the scene as described in the book, and which was followed by a suicide of the father of the family, and we then recreated the funeral scene at Ballinashe Cemetery. And it's it's a harrowing film. It's it's a hard film to watch, but it's reality.
What drew you to the subject?
Well, I guess I came to know Tom Darcy a couple of years back. You might remember, actually, the last time I was on the show, I told you about how I'd heard somebody mention that 200 audits had been done on IBRC mortgages. That was actually Tom Darcy who told me that, which led me on to having an audit done on my mortgage. You might remember that story. There was overcharging of 50 grand. And I guess I became friendly with Tom, and about 6 months ago he happened to mention to me, I'm writing a book. And it's the first I heard of it. He hadn't actually told anybody about it. And a couple of days later, he read out to me the Princess Bed story, which is the story of the film I made. And I have to say, he read it out to me over the phone, and I was reduced to tears listening to it, because it is quite a harrowing story. And then I read a first draft copy of the book a few months back, and I decided to get involved with Tom in promoting the book, because I really feel this is a story that needs to be told. You know, it's the story of corruption in Irish banks. It's the story of evictions being brought back into Ireland when the Land and Conveyancing Law Reform Act was signed in 2013. Eviction was reintroduced to Ireland. You know, the stories we all remember from school. You know, the Land League and those harrowing evictions.
Those pen and ink drawings in various history books from English newspapers of the time.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Well, we're back there again.
So, on average, how many evictions are happening, say, per month in this country?
It's very hard for me to say. Tom spoke recently at something, and he mentioned, it was a radio interview actually with LMFM the other day, and he said 4 to 5 a week.
Wow.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, Billy, most people won't face that shame. You know, if a repossession order is granted against their home, they'll simply hand back the keys and give up. But there are some people who will barricade themselves into their homes and will refuse to leave. And that's when you have the down and dirty eviction.
And before we get to that, I mean, in terms of the time frame from the issuing of the final notices and the people are threatened with the sheriff, what is the time frame in this country between that point and the point of eviction?
I think that time frame can vary. It can vary from weeks to months. Again, as far as I'm aware, the sheriff is required to, serve notice on, the people who are going to be evicted. And so the time frame can vary. There was an eviction a few months back which made national headlines. It was on, actually RTE had it as well. Fiona Lloyd and her husband, who was blind, and her 10-year-old child were literally dragged from their home in Kells in County Meath. And I know somebody who was there and actually filmed it, and they did physically drag Fiona from the house. 2 big men caught that woman, knocked her backwards, grabbed her under the arms and dragged her in her bare feet out onto the wet ground. So this is we're only talking about a couple of months ago, that this is going on.
So, and I put this in inverted commas, you think there's collusion going on between the vested interest in all of this, that the law allows this to happen?
Well, yes. I mean, many of these orders, these repossession orders, are not actually signed by a judge, because a lot of judges won't sign these orders. So a lot of the paperwork that's being presented is actually, it's not valid paperwork. But people tend to, simply accept an authority figure standing at their
the
door.
judge isn't signing it and you're saying it's not valid, that these orders are not valid. How does the sheriff then end up going in, acting for the law?
Is in some cases on a wing and a prayer, by simply waving a piece of paper.
Even though you would say there's no authority, and Tom Darcy would say there's no legal authority underpinning this.
There is no legal authority underpinning this. In many cases, the paperwork is invalid.
And of course, the person who's been served with this eviction notice isn't aware of the fact.
No. What does the average person know about such matters?
Little or nothing.
Who knows what to ask, somebody arriving at your door who's about to kick you and your family, out of your home. Who knows what to ask? None of us are trained in these matters. So, as I said, very often the paperwork is invalid.
So the book, what does it cover?
The book tells Tom's own story, firstly. Tom was a property developer in Dublin and things went wrong on him. And he was actually evicted from his home, a violent eviction, where his son was knocked unconscious, where some of the people who were carrying out the eviction stepped on his son, walked on him, dragged him out the door. But it goes on to describe his experiences in the court. In the courts, he's been in the courts so many times. He's, I think, the only person in Irish history who ever actually won a case against AIB where they returned the properties which had been taken from him. The book goes on to give first-hand accounts of evictions that Tom witnessed. It also gives accounts from whistleblowers who reveal some pretty startling stuff, like, for example, the fact that the Irish banks were trading illegally and that the government were aware of it but allowed it to continue. That's basically what the book is. I suppose there's a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to describe a book in a few words. But Tom's own story, his history in the courts, first-hand accounts of evictions and revelations from whistleblowers regarding, I'm going to say, corruption.
Okay, of course, others would argue that it isn't corruption.
Fair enough.
It has perfect legal standing and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this comes into the genre of expose journalism, but yet the names are the real names aren't given.
Well, in some cases, the real names are given.
Okay.
In some cases the names are given, in some cases they are not. I don't fully understand exactly why that is, but that is the case.
Now, in doing this film in Waterford, to what end? What do you hope will be the outcome?
The purpose of
who will see it?
I guess the purpose of the film is to promote the book. I guess, look, we were looking for shock value. I mean, I think anybody who reads the book, and when you read some of the accounts in the book, it is horrific. And I think the film we made does have quite, good shock value. In terms of who will see it, the film went out online on, I think, September 28th. YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, has received quite a lot of views. And
so what would you put into the search engines?
You would put Waiting for the Sheriff.
Waiting for the Sheriff.
Waiting for the Sheriff is the name of the film. And just incidentally, I spoke to somebody in UTV Ireland this morning, and there's a good possibility they're going to use the film, which obviously we're delighted about. And also the Book Centre in Waterford are stocking the film, as are the Book Centre in Kilkenny and Wexford. We have a book signing. The film will be screened, and the author will say a few words tomorrow evening in the Book Centre Waterford at 6:30 p.m.
Now, your own trials with IRBC.
Yes.
Can you give a quick update for us on that?
Sure, yeah. Since the last time I was with you, I have had more forensic audits done. A woman contacted me through one of my pages and suggested, why not somebody who's had a successful forensic audit done finance some more for, some others. And I went along with that, and I offered 4 free forensic audits through my pages. And wait till you hear the results of these. We had 4 audits done. Of the four, three were overcharged. One was Start Mortgages, 15 grand. The other was Irish Nationwide Building Society, 2.5 grand. The other was AIB, just 1,000. But that 1,000 is better in the mortgage holder's pocket than it is in the bank's pocket. Now, if you include my audit in that, that's 5 audits. 4 out of the 5 were overcharged. Now, since, again, I've been here with you last time, a lot of people contacted me and said, I'd love to have it done, but I don't have the money. You know, it's going to cost 1,000 quid to have a forensic accountant do an audit. Now, I put some stuff out on my pages, YouTube videos that I had found, you know, which show you how to do these calculations yourself.
Very quickly.
Yeah, okay, some people have now figured out how to do the calculations. I am learning how to do it, and the way forward is to learn how to do these calculations yourself to see if you're overcharged.
Okay, the book is called Waiting for the Sheriff by Tom Darcy. He's in the book centre.
Tomorrow evening, 6:30 p.m.
And your film of the same title available on several platforms, including YouTube. Thank you very much, McDaniels.
Thanks for having me, Billy.